back. We're joined today by SEMCOG Executive Director Paul Tait. And Paul, let's talk about that proposal for a second bridge from Detroit to Canada.
A lot of people want to know what are the benefits, especially to our 7 counties here in southeast Michigan.
The timing for this bridge is now. Short term, we get 30,000 jobs, construction and spin-off jobs to affect our local economy now. In addition, long range, the trade with Canada is so important to our region and our state. There are almost 250,000 jobs tied to trade with Canada that will only be enhanced if we can capitalize on that niche.
Josh on Twitter just asked a question before I came over here, and it really is rather an interesting question. He says, with all the people leaving Detroit and Michigan, why do we need a second bridge?
The importance is jobs for southeast Michigan and Michigan, but it's also how do we capitalize on the trade with our most important trading partner in the world, Canada.
So this is the cure for keeping people from leaving Detroit, Michigan. Okay.
Absolutely.
Coming up next, we're going to be talking more with Paul Tait from SEMCOG about the second span.
Including Matty Maroon's controversial plan to build a second span right next to the existing Ambassador Bridge. We'll be right back.
Unify, inspire, act. This is Detroit.
There's only one option today, aside from doing nothing, and that is the Detroit River International Crossing.
That is the Canadian Consul General right there talking about that second span of the Ambassador Bridge. Manny Maroon's Detroit International Bridge Company has already begun construction on a second span or a twin, but Canada says it doesn't matter what Maroon does here, the second span is going to land in Canada. Pretty strong words.
Yeah, really strong words. So, Paul, let's talk about this for a second. Matty Maroon, of course, keeps talking about expanding the Ambassador Bridge. Canada says no way, and then there's the DRIC. I mean, are there pros and cons to both, or?
Well, the challenge is where the Ambassador Bridge lands in Windsor is just very congested in downtown Windsor, has well over a dozen traffic lights between there and 401. It's challenged. In our plan, we'd say, okay, maybe you could build that second span as a twinning, but only as a replacement bridge, not as the new bridge. The DRIC is important a little further downriver for security reasons. We've got, after 9/11, we have to be more concerned about having redundant border crossings. And in addition, it gives us that extra capacity at a different place to make sure that trade keeps flowing between our two countries.
And you go around that congestion.
Yes, absolutely. When you land in Canada from where the DRIC is proposed, you can bypass Windsor and get to Highway 401, their main artery. Get on that without going through downtown Windsor. It'll save tens of minutes.
In my conversation with the Consul General, he says this is Canada's #1 infrastructure project, the DRIC,
yes,
Downriver Bridge. And he said they're so serious they put their money where their mouth is, quite literally. $550 million Canada will give Michigan to pay for its portion of the bridge, and that'll come out of toll. So really this bridge doesn't cost Michigan a cent under that.
It's even better than that, because as Governor Snyder pointed out in his State of the State address, that we can use that money that's coming from Canada to, of all things, match our federal road construction grants that come into this state and this region. Without that, and if we didn't pass a gas tax increase, which nobody is looking forward to, without that, we'll be able to use that money to match those federal grants so we don't lose a dime of our own federal money, in addition to getting the money for the bridge.
And how much money are we talking about from federal money?
Well, for every dollar that we have in match, we get $4 in federal money.
So more than $2 billion that we can use on Michigan highways, not even the bridge.
A lot of money.
It's a lot of money on the table then.
Paul, for a moment, speak to Detroiters. You saw the one gentleman in Alicia's piece talk about, oh, I think the bridge is going to benefit the truckers, but it's not going to benefit people who live in the city, especially in the depressed areas, but there are a lot of misconceptions about it.
Well, first and foremost, 30,000 jobs, 10,000 construction jobs plus the spin-off jobs. It's going to put our people to work. That's most important. But I think as we evolve, and as the pastor that you interviewed in that piece was saying, you can you can negotiate benefits for the community that will help the community. Those folks that have to relocate, you help compensate them for relocating. This can be and should be, and I think will be, a win-win for everybody.
The Ambassador Bridge Company has already started building this twin that we were talking about that's never going to land in Canada. And there have already been some hints that this whole process of putting a DRIC in may be held up because of all this. I mean, can the bridge company actually hold this thing up until it dies?
I don't know about holding it up until it dies, and I would, heaven forbid, hope that that's not the case. If one chooses, you can tie things up in court. In our litigious society, there are a number of reasons you can tie things up in court. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully we can get to that win-win, get to it now, get those jobs in place, and secure our long-term economy.
Because one thing I heard from the Consul General, they kind of hinted that maybe upstate New York would be happy to pick up a cross-river crossing there. So if we don't do it, maybe they will, and we do lose it.
We've got such an advantage in the trade coming from Canada into our state. Canada is the largest trading partner with the United States. 57% of that trade comes through the border crossings in southeast Michigan. We've got to capitalize on that. We can't let it go away.
And I know we're out of time, but we're talking about 3 to 5 years away. I know you keep saying now, but just, you know.
Well, we've got to get through the last of the hurdles so we can break ground in a year or so.
In a year or so.
But then it'll take a couple of years to get this. This is a big project.
I know it's a big project, but a lot of people like to know, you know, a year or two away.
Paul Tait from SEMCOG, as always, thank you very much. We'll be talking to you down the road more.
We appreciate it.